I was looking for Tuan. I thought we lost you. Good afternoon, everyone. How are you all doing? What a great kickoff from Rohit as well as Christy from Google. I think they set the stage beautifully for our first panel discussion today. This discussion, I think, sets the tone for the rest of the day. We're here to talk about what's new and innovative in marketing, but not at a global scale, not at a regional scale, where it actually matters today, which is Vietnam, right? As our friend from Google mentioned, this is the fastest growing country in the entire region. And someone who's visiting, I can tell you that I feel the energy and excitement. So I'm really excited to be here today to speak with my esteemed panelists and get some knowledge and insight from them in terms of where they see the growth opportunity here in Vietnam. So let's go ahead and jump right into it, shall we? All right, cool. So this first question is just a general one, and it's for everyone. And we'll start with Tuan first. So Tuan, what are the most notable new trends and technologies that you're seeing here in Vietnam? And does Tuan have a mic?
Sorry, everybody. I will talk in Vietnamese. Ở Việt Nam thì tôi nghĩ là cái công nghệ luôn luôn là đuổi kịp và tiếp cận với được thế giới, cho nên những công nghệ mà mới nhất về AdTech, về MarTech và đặc biệt là công nghệ về AI hỗ trợ cho cả publisher, cả buyer và cả agency, đó là những công nghệ mà hot trend. Thì trong năm nay, đặc biệt là từ năm 2023 trở đi, thì các công nghệ về AI, đặc biệt với xuất hiện của ChatGPT chẳng hạn, nó sẽ hỗ trợ được rất là nhiều cho các doanh nghiệp, đặc biệt là từ các nhà quảng cáo, từ các agency cho đến cả các publisher có thể sử dụng các công nghệ về AI và machine learning rất là mạnh mẽ ở trong khai thác chất lượng cả quảng cáo và đặc biệt cả mặt dữ liệu cho khách hàng.
And now using my AI voice bot, I will now translate that. No, that's great. I think AI is going to be a heavy topic. We'll come back to that. So how about yourself, Ben?
I also echo Ton in the part about AI, and especially for Vietnam, the conversational assistant. I can see that there's so many people willing to spend like $1 so that they can open a new ChatGPT account. So that says something, right? The second trend that I noticed is that, especially after COVID, is people focus a lot on the convenience. So that's where you see a lot of the trend on one-stop shop is opening up. For example, now the shop can cater so many of your needs as well, ranging from grocery to financial needs and stuff like that. So that's the trend. In terms of technology, we also see that trend even within Zalo ecosystem. People are now demanding that can we facilitate the whole journeys within the Zalo ecosystem. So that's why I think at the moment Zalo are now launching what we call the app-in-app. So to kind of become a super app catering on the needs of the Vietnamese nowadays.
Awesome. And then from a meta perspective, what can you share with us?
Sure, thank you, Dave, and thank you, Ben and Tuan, for the sharing. I think AI is the new buzzword. With Meta, AI is not a new thing. We have been doing it since like probably 10 years ago, and you perhaps use it on every single day on the basic, but without realizing that you are using it, right? So yeah, I just want to echo one of the very important things for Southeast Asia consumer and Vietnamese consumer in particular, since we are in Vietnam. Like Vietnam is definitely really like pacing ahead, and we have a very like good growth over the last few years. And one of that I really like to do and share is like we have a group of consumers really thirsty for connectivity. They really thirsty to try new things, and they embracing technology. So that is like very important for every marketer and agency to tap on the opportunities. And the other thing I would also like to share is like the immersive experience and the full funnel journeys is no new, and we've seen a lot of like advertisers here in Vietnam have been embracing it fully with us with business messaging. It's actually a full funnel flashing out from the beginning to the end, and we are actually almost the number one in the world embracing and pushing the business messaging for Meta. So this is one thing we are very proud about in Vietnam in terms of like pioneering and innovation.
That's great. And actually,
I want to also ask Grab, since
Oh.
you are here, Dave.
Sure.
So what will be the new thing and the new trend that you want to highlight from Grab?
Yeah, no, thanks. So what we're seeing, and it's not just in Vietnam or Southeast Asia, but it's a global phenomenon. We're seeing the rise of retail media networks. At the end of the day, you mentioned, full funnel. Retail media networks like Grab are places where you can do branding, you can inform intent, and then you can actually measure attribution. And I think in addition to that, the first party signals that you see, which are baked in real world interactions and actual transactions, arguably are the best definition of who a consumer is, right? That's something that we're obviously starting to see a lean in. I actually now kind of want to flip it back and stay here in Vietnam a little bit. I think it's really interesting you mentioned how business messaging is taking off, and it's taking off here first. Traditionally, what we've seen is technology adoption starts in the West and then flows this way, but we're starting to enter an era in which innovation is born here and bred here. And I think that's extremely exciting. So can you share a little bit more about how Meta is looking at messaging and what the rest of the world is learning from Vietnamese consumers and how consumers are captivating the opportunity with messaging?
Brilliant. I love this discussion in this forum, and this is something I really think that it is an era of changing, right? Originally, yes, you're right. Every innovation happening elsewhere from the West or in the US, and then we just adopting the trend or to borrow it. But what we've been seeing over the last few years is business messaging or the conversational commerce that what we are seeing is happening here, originated in Asia and in Vietnam and Thailand in particular. So those are the two biggest markets for us in the world. And why is that? The one of the very nature of Vietnamese consumer or Vietnam consumer in Southeast Asia is the ability for them to connect in a very personal way. It's very touchy for them. It's very easy. It's marry the two beauty of an offline world and an online world. So they feel they are talking to a real person, and that making business messaging really advancing. I think the other thing is, I also working in the marketing industry for so long. There was the day that you need to have at least a few $100,000 to get advertising, right? So as Meta, we're starting from SMB business. The ability of the power of the platform is for you, the small brand or your big brand, you're going here, really capsulate the consumer online and really is push that toward the end to close the transaction. And this is where we are seeing increasingly, this is immersive experience. Consumer want seamless experience and they want to close the loop right away. We are entering a challenging period across the region. In Vietnam, ROI is very highly demanded. Every single advertiser asking for that. So with that, I think business messaging is one way of driving operational efficiency, right? People, the moment they open their eye, the first thing they open their phone and look at their friend, their feed and everything. So that's what we call discovery commerce, and that's why we are seeing the funnel is collapsing and it's going straight to the end. So they make the decision very quickly. And the other element of that is they are looking for value for money. And one of the elements that I would like to highlight, this is very interesting. So we also doing a research with Bain. Over every single year we did one. And then one of the very interesting elements, this is the market who embrace innovation, but they also the least loyalty market compared to the rest of the Southeast Asia.
Promo heavy.
Yeah. And then therefore it's highly and constantly demand for you to reach out there, making sure that you are reaching them and then selling your value offering. And this is what we believe that it will be much more highly competitive and it's very instant and this happened very quickly.
That's right. Yeah, I think as marketers, we're in the era of instant gratification, right? Attention spans are smaller. and their ability to pay attention to your message has also gotten smaller. Tuan, I'd actually like to go back to you as the role of CTO. How are consumer behaviors in Vietnam shaping the product roadmap decisions that you're informing on your end?
Yeah. Ở phía trong công nghệ, sorry, what?
So, what consumer behaviors in Vietnam
Yes.
are you seeing that are changing your product roadmap or the features you're building?
Yeah, okay. Thực ra thì với những cái hành vi của người sử dụng thì họ cũng rất là đa dạng. Tuy nhiên là mọi người cũng để thấy được là ở trong công nghệ, ở trong các cái sản phẩm hoặc là trong các nền tảng thì ví dụ như ở phía An Micro chúng tôi là một trong những cái đơn vị mà xây dựng các hệ thống về tin tức và hệ thống thông tin ở mức premium content. Đây chính là một trong những cách mà xây dựng và định hướng được những cái hành vi của người dùng và cũng nhận được feedback của người dùng để chúng tôi có thể xây dựng được những cái sản phẩm hiệu quả hơn. Đặc biệt là ngược trở lại khi mà xem xét các cái hành vi mà tiêu thụ thông tin của người sử dụng internet, chúng tôi cũng thể biết được và tư vấn ngược trở lại cho agency hoặc các khách hàng là cái hành vi của các khách hàng như thế nào. Ví dụ các đối tượng Gen Z ở khu phía mình là ở phía Bắc thì họ mong muốn, họ chờ đợi vào những cái loại thông tin gì, loại hàng hóa ra sao, loại mục đích như thế nào thì sẽ khá là phục vụ được những cái khách hàng mà làm và liên quan đến các ngành hàng mà có thể tiêu dùng nhanh hoặc là các cái đồ uống dành cho các bạn trẻ ở trên thị trường. Thì đặc biệt là với sự phát triển của công nghệ hiện tại thì dữ liệu là một trong những cái mỏ vàng để chúng ta có thể khai thác. Với dữ liệu thì đặc biệt là không chỉ những cái đơn vị có dữ liệu lớn mà bất cứ ai đều có thể khai thác cái dữ liệu của mình. Như các bạn vừa xem thì các anh chị vừa xem là trong cái video clip của Lazada sử dụng dữ liệu và đã suy đoán được các cái hành vi người dùng rất mạnh. Thì bất cứ một doanh nghiệp nào họ đều có dữ liệu của mình, tuy nhiên là hiện tại đang nằm ở rất nhiều nơi, nằm từ online, nằm từ offline, và làm sao chúng ta có thể dùng công nghệ để lưu trữ, dùng công nghệ để phân tích, dùng công nghệ để dự báo và dự đoán được những cái hành vi consumer của mình để giúp mình tiêu dùng tốt hơn, để giúp cho những doanh nghiệp ví dụ như là những doanh nghiệp mà làm sữa hoặc FMCG chẳng hạn thì sẽ rất cần những thông tin về các loại hình sữa hoặc loại vị mới mà các bạn đang dùng bây giờ. Thì đấy chính là những cái bước tiến của công nghệ sẽ giúp và kết hợp với doanh nghiệp, kết hợp với rất nhiều yếu tố để tạo ra dự báo được hành vi của người sử dụng.
So I will conclude the answer from Mr. Tuấn to talk about the behaviors of the consumer in Vietnam. So in the technology, in the product, in the platform, his company is at Micro. They build the information system. So from that, they can know the feedback from the consumer. From that, we can give the better solution, the effective solution, and also from the feedback. From the feedback of the consumer, they can consult for them, and also for some consult for the enterprises. They can have the bad solution, and also about, for example, about the consumer of the people, especially the Gen Z at the north of Vietnam. They like the fresh foods or to drink, and they use the technology to have the data from the consumer behavior, and they can research the behavior of the consumer, and they use the technology to help the companies, the enterprises, and from that we can provide a better solution for their clients.
Understood. Actually, I'm gonna, based off that answer, let me ask the next question, and Ben would love to start with you. So, we're Tuan's talking about data and how his company is utilizing the data. There's a lot of conversations around data here. How do marketers understand what is good data versus what is bad data? Everyone's touting data, so how do they discern the difference?
Well, that's a difficult question to answer. It's difficult because I agree that data are now so scattered among so many places. People talking about first-party data, second-party and third-party data. when we work with brands within Zalo ecosystem and Actima ecosystem, we come to realize that even though even though all the brand want to have their OCDP to unify, to collect, to unify the data, the amount of overlapping data between different sources are so little. So that's why the learning from us is actually, as I shared before, you should work with a platform or a data source that have kind of like the power of representative of the mass audience, and build the journey on top of that. Then you might have the full journey on such a platform, rather than using different data scattered across, because then you got more noise rather than signal. Let me take an example. A few of our brand clients here belonging to the infant milk industry. When they come to us, they brief, find me the mother with babies, and then hopefully I can sell milk to them. Apparently, mother with baby are not only the one who buying milk on our platform. There might be the fathers, there might be the uncle and stuff like that. So if we just only look at the quality of the question of finding mother with baby, that might be a wrong questions that lead to the wrong answer as well. So I think, in short, you can only judge that data by showing the final result, like see how that running through and give you the final performance, either the sales or either the kind of like contactable context that you can later on selling the product to them.
I think that's a really good point. Sometimes marketers were too caught up in the topic of targeting, when the question should really be, what are the results that we're looking for, right? So maybe we don't need to understand or pretend we understand the client as much as we'd like to. I'm actually going to take a question from the audience that I think, Swan, you'll be well positioned to answer. So this one right here, where did it go? Oh, what are the challenges for SMEs or SMBs when applying, let's call it new technology? Or are only big brands and agencies capable of applying new technology when it comes to marketing innovations?
Excellent question. I love this one. I think like Vietnam in particular and Southeast Asia in particular, we have a massive like long-term business, like encapsulate the nature of the market. You have a lot of small, medium brand and people who basically thriving, and they are really innovation in their business approach. So to tackle the question, now technology is for everyone, but how do you do it is the different thing, right? So I think, let me share a bit of like a different story between the SMB side of business of Meta and also the big advertiser and big agency side of the picture. There's always pro and con. There's no perfect answer for everyone, but I always see there's a lot of like innovation happening, and that's why the business messaging actually originated like from like small advertiser and from like SMB, where they really working to push it hard. They're like, hey, I want a seamless consumer experience. I want them to close us out. Can I do it? And that's why we have been like pushing and developing a lot of solutions, making sure that we get answer for those market, for those needs, right? Of course, like on a bigger scale, like agency holding a lot of knowledge and also have a lot of machine learning in-house, work with like big advertiser. And the way they're doing it, probably in a mass scale and more like systematic, and they are constantly looking at like how to do it properly. So I think there's a different way of linking in that. So whether you can lean in terms of the availability of AI and technology provided out there, and then like for the big advertiser, I think they want to take their own destiny in their own hand, but not a lot of people can do that. So yes, it works in both ways.
Understood, great. I'm actually going to go to the top right here, but instead of top two technology, each of the panelists could just name the one technology solution or innovation that you feel our audience should be aware of or learn more about in 2023. So what's the one technology innovation in 2023?
Yes. Mình nghĩ là ở phía góc độ của chúng tôi thì cái công nghệ, một cái công nghệ mà quan trọng lớn nhất trong năm 2023 mà tất cả các bên cần phải chú ý đó là công nghệ về dữ liệu. Data, dữ liệu là sống còn của doanh nghiệp, và vì thế là với dữ liệu này thì không chỉ là doanh nghiệp lớn mà các doanh nghiệp nhỏ đều có thể sử dụng được. Doanh nghiệp nhỏ có những cái đặc trưng, có những thông tin dữ liệu của riêng mình và rất đặc thù, và vì thế là nếu như chúng ta có thể tận dụng được cái dữ liệu này bằng cách sử dụng các công nghệ mới như các kênh truyền thông về chatbot, các kênh tương tác, tích hợp tất cả dữ liệu vào các hệ thống được gọi là CDP chẳng hạn, hoặc các cái mini CDP thì sẽ giúp chúng ta tổ chức dữ liệu một cách hài hòa hơn, hiệu quả hơn và giúp khai thác marketing một cách tốt hơn rất nhiều.
So according to me, the most important technology in 2023 is the data technology, because it's very important not only for the small businesses, also for the big company. And we take advantage of the data to make to create a more digitalized information, and from that we can organize the data. And it will help a lot for us to give the solution for the consumer or the clients.
Okay, so let's label that as data mining and integrity. So what we're going to do, folks, because we would love here on the panel to also get your take on it. So Tuan's answer is data mining and capabilities. Bear that in mind, because we're going to do a live vote at the end after all the panelists have answered the question to see what you think is the number one thing we should be doing in 2023 together. So Ben, what's your answer?
My answer would relies on the fact that Vietnamese consumers are really on content consuming part, even though they are very creative. So I think one of the technology that gonna unleash their power of content creation is really about generative AI in a ways of, like, for example, ChatGPT and stuff, conversational.
Okay, so we have one on data and one on AI. What would be your answer, Swan?
Well, my answer actually the combination of both. So at Meta, we are doing it. So you'll see that impact a lot on also the creative fund. So we're working a lot on the back end at the moment to bring on AI, to making sure that we can serve and capture attention of different audience. You can do creative testing, you can serve different creative, they're reaching the right audience for you. You don't have to do the work. The campaign execution will be laid with the machine learning. And then you are the one who actually look at the learning and how you can scale the learning for your business.
Okay, so I'll label that one as automation of the data and the AI. So why don't we do this, if we could all participate by a showing of hands, because once again, we'd love to see what the audience thinks. So who thinks that data integrity and organization is going to be the most important thing for us to execute in Vietnam in 2023 as marketers? There's a couple brave people who are willing to raise their hands. Thank you. I count 4 or 5. How about AI? Are we too soon? Is it the right time? What do we think about AI? There's a guy raising a sign that says 5 minutes. I'll count his vote for that as well. And then finally, who agrees with Meta that it's not about the art or the science, it's a combination of the two, and it's the right tools and platforms that can enable marketers to take advantage of that? Okay, 2 hands. So apparently everyone's hands are tied to their chairs. That's okay. But clearly AI is a hot topic. Now, I think we have one last question, right? So the keynote speech kicked off by talking about what an enormous growth opportunity Vietnam is for us. So we talked about the number one technology thing. So in very short order, since we only have 5 minutes, what's the number one consumer trend that you think is going to drive consumption and things that we as marketeers should be aware of? So what's the number one consumer trend from a digital lens that you think will start to take off even more than predicted? So for example, is it streaming? Is it online grocery? Like, what's the consumer digital trend that we as marketers should be paying attention to? Why don't we actually start from this direction?
So for me, I think this is like something I am also betting on. I saw a strong trust for immersive experience and adoption of AR and VR. So that for me will be the number one trend. People will live in a mixed reality world, in particular like Vietnamese consumer, they want that. So it's like something that also meta belief that will be like shaping the future, and that's the metaverse.
For my side, I think this one is no longer new, but now is the right time for it to ripe and pick up. It still continue to be online merging into offline and go back to online.
Ở góc độ phía mình thì nghĩ là năm nay thì chắc sẽ những cái công nghệ về live interactive, ví dụ như có những cái môi trường mà tương tác được cả trên online và offline như live stream, những cái sự kiện hoặc những cái môi trường mà có thể tạo ra engagement tốt, tương tác tốt thì có thể sẽ là một cái trend mới của năm 2023.
For me, the number one trend is about the technology, live interactive. So from online, it can use both an online and offline. For example, let's stream. From that, we can create the engagement to the audience or our consumers, and it will be better.
Awesome. Well, I think that concludes our panel. Thanks to our panelists for the great answers. Thank you for translating for me. And thank you everyone for your time.